Okay. All right. So the module that you have, if I'm not wrong, 1.1 is the one with whole numbers, and then mathematical operations, fractions, decimals, and exponents. Is that the one that everyone has?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I really appreciate an interactive class because I wouldn't like to just go on and on and on without knowing if you guys understand or if you guys don't. Also, I forgot to tell you guys a bit about let me just tell you guys a bit about myself before we continue. So I'm a fourth year student at the University of It, and I just have a passion for mathematics, and I really love it, even though medicine doesn't have maths like in advanced years, but I still enjoy maths a lot, and I really like teaching and talking about maths. So if you guys have any questions or anything that you'd like to ask me, please feel free to contact Beauty and let your questions be known. Okay, so this is the board that I am going to be using. Can everybody see it clearly? This is the board.
Yes.
Okay. So we're just gonna start off with like the basic maths. And our first topic is whole numbers. Sorry. Okay. And can everybody?
Sorry, I can't see anything.
Yeah, me too.
I can't see anything.
Okay. Can you see and can you read?
Yes.
Yes.
Or should I flip the camera? Can you guys read this properly?
Yeah, now
It's perfect now. Thank you.
Okay. So our first topic is whole numbers. So when we talk about a whole number, we talk about a number that is not a fraction or a decimal. Like you see, 1 is a whole number, but if it has now like 0.2 or 1.3, this is not a whole number anymore. These are decimals, and this is a fraction. You see. Can you guys see perfectly these numbers? Are they clear?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
So with whole numbers, that's just it. It's a number that doesn't have a point or a comma. It's a whole number. So I'm sure when the last number in a math is called a unit, because if it's 1 like this, it's only 1 item. So it's a unit in English. So this is a unit. So when we're counting, this is a unit. Yeah. If there's 2 now, 2 ones, like it's an 11. There's 2 of them. So this is the unit, and this is the 10th of it. Yeah. If we add another 1, there's 3 of them. So we count from the last number to your right. The last number to your right is always the unit. So you move from the side, you say unit, your tens, your hundreds. Like most people understand things when you talk in the sense of money. So if I say here, you have 1 rand, it's a unit. You have 10 rand. You literally just said you have 10 rand. So this is a unit, this is the 10th of a unit. If you have 100 rand, this is your unit, your 10th, your 100. If you have 1,000 rand, this is your new unit, this is your new tens, hundreds, and thousand. So you always count from the first number on the right, and that is always a unit, and then you increase as you go to the left. Yeah. So if you have, let's say, 253, you would say this number has 2 hundreds. Sorry. It has 2 hundreds, 5, tens, tens, not tens, and 3 units. So when you're breaking down numbers again, you count, or you go to the one on the furthest on the left, on the right side, and you count it as your unit. The next one that comes after that will be your tens, and the next one that comes after that would be your 100. And if you keep going, now it becomes thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, until you get to millions. So can I please get a volunteer? Did you guys understand what I just explained, or should I explain it again?
We understand.
We understand.
Okay, so can I please have a volunteer to break this number down for me into 100, tens, and units and thousands?
Okay, can I go?
Okay, sure, no problem.
So it's 1 unit,
Mhm.
5 tens,
Yes.
2 hundreds, and
Mhm.
8 thousands.
Okay, 200 and 8. Sorry, who is this? Who just gave an answer?
Olivia.
Sorry,
Olivia.
Olivia or Olivia?
Yes, Olivia is fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Olivia. So that is correct. So that is how you would basically break it down. So you see, it's very simple. Like that is basically the whole concept of whole numbers. You just have to know your columns and how you break them down, your units, your tens, and your thousands and your millions. Okay, can I just have one more volunteer? I'm gonna make the number a bit bigger. Can I have a volunteer who can try and break this down? Anyone? Hello, should I pick myself? Should I go through the participants and see who? Busisiwe, do you want to try?
Okay, I want to try.
Okay, who is this?
Letlabo.
Okay, please help us.
It's 9 units.
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
Yes.
9.
9 units, 1 tens,
Mhm.
100.
Okay, so if there's only one, you can't say
Yes.
tens because it's 1/10. So
Yes,
if there
or
was
110. Yes.
yeah,
And then,
then
100,
yes.
300, 327, no, 327 hundreds.
Remember, we're doing this in columns like this. We're breaking down. So this will be your units. This would be your tens. This would be your hundreds. This would be your thousands. This would be your tens of thousands.
Oh,
This would be your hundreds of thousands.
thousands,
This would be your millions.
millions.
So you see they
Okay.
come in 3, 3, 3s. That's why I separated them into the first 3, the second 3, and the million. Because even if
Okay.
you see when you're writing money,
Okay.
okay. You wanna continue from here?
Can I continue?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Then then we have 7,000.
Yes.
Then we have then I have 2 tens of thousands.
Yes.
Then then I have 300 of thousands.
Yes.
Yes. Then I have 9 millions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Litabo.
Letlabo.
Litabo, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Okay, thanks.
So do you see, this is just how you break it down. But like when you write your answer, because you count from here, you don't count from units. Like we don't say 9 units, 1/10 and stuff. We say we count this as 9,327,119. So you'd count from here. So when you write your answer, if they say express this in words, you start from here. So you'd say 9 millions, 3 hundreds of thousands, 2 tens of thousands, 7,000, 100, 1/10, and 9 units. So it's easier to start labeling from this side because you go up from here. So it's easier to go up than to go down. So if you start from units, tens, hundreds, thousands, but then when you're counting it, when you're writing it as your final answer, you have to start from 9 millions. You go this way. Okay. When you're writing your final answer in your book, you would start from here, going up that way. Any questions? Do we have any questions on this one?
No, I'm good.
Right. So I'm going to give you guys one last example, but it's going to be in words. Please tell me what the figure is from the words. Okay. So it's 6,500,000 of thousands, 2 tens of thousands, 7 thousands, 200s, 8 tens, and 9 units. Can anyone tell me what this number is?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes. Who is this? Is this Shalina?
It's Zianda.
Okay, Zianda. What is the answer
Yes.
here?
It's 6,527,289.
Thank you so much, Zianda. This is correct. So you just need to be able to move from this to that and from this to that. So that's it for the 1.1. Any questions on 1.1 before we move to 1.2? Also, I would encourage you guys to like try out after we have a lesson, like on your own. Please go through the examples that they provide in your manual. If you have any questions, you can come with them to the next lesson, or you can contact VUT if it's very urgent. Okay. So 1.2 would be the mathematical operations. So in mathematics, we have things that make us, that help us as we adjust when we are adding, subtracting, multiplying, and all of that to equate and to find out solutions and conclusions. So the first sign that we're going to deal with, I'm sure you guys have heard of this term, ne? If you have never heard of this term, please let me know. Have you guys heard of this term? Or maybe some of you know it as like this way? Do you guys know these two or either one?
What must it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Or some may say brackets of multiplication, division, and subtraction. It yields the same answer, but this statement will give you all the mathematical terms that you need to know. So we're going to start with multiplication or division, whichever one, but I like multiplication more. So let's just start with it. Multiplication. Okay, so this, I'm sure you've known it. This is a multiplication sign or the times sign. So this can either be written like this, or it can be represented by brackets. So if you see anything in brackets, it means it's multiplying whatever is outside the bracket. If there's no other term, if there's no comma, if there's no space, if there's no other sign, it means that this. So these are the two signs that represent multiplication. So if something says that it's multiplying something, it means that that something is being done like to the same number. So like if I say 2 times 3, it means we're going to do 3 twice. We're going to multiply 3 by 2. So it means we're going to need 3 sets of 2. So it's going to be 3, 6. So you're going to do that 3 times number line, like 3, 6, 9, 12 twice. So it's going to be 3, 6. Or you can do the 2 times number line 3 times. So you can either have 2, 4, 6, or you can have 3, 6. So if it's the 2 times number line and it's times 3, so it means we need 3 2s, 3 sets of 2s. So the first set of 2 is only 2. If you bring more 2s, now there's 4. If you bring more 2s, now there's 6. So you're multiplying 2 by 3. So you're adding 2 to 2 3 times. That's multiplying something. It's adding on to itself or multiplying like the same number of times or a certain number of times. So 2 times 3 is, we're adding 2 to 2 3 times. So 2 to 2 the first time, it's going to give us 4 because it's 2 plus 2. We're adding on. So that's 2 times 2. If we're adding on 2 more, that will be 6. Same goes for 3. In the 3 times number line, it goes 3, 6. Let me use a different pen. 9, 12, so forth, so forth, so forth. And this one also goes 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. It goes on and on and on. But because we have the 2 number line and it's going 3 times, we go 1, 2, 3. And this will be our answer. In the 3 times number line, it's going twice. So it's 1, 2. Okay. So this is what multiplication means. So it can either be represented by this sign or the brackets. Okay. So if I say who's going to give me the answer for this one?
Zianda, it's 16.
Thank you so much, Sianda. So if you see brackets or a multiplication sign, it's the same thing. Okay, and I think you guys, I'm not sure if you guys are allowed to use calculators or not, but I think you are. I'll have to confirm with that. So it's just 2 times 8 and you get 16. Okay, so that's with the multiplication sign. Any questions about the multiplication? I'm not sure if you guys are doing decimals. Okay, you guys are gonna do it later on. All right, so that's just it with the multiplication sign. Any questions before we move on to the next one? Okay, I'm gonna assume that nobody has a question on multiplication. So the next one that we're gonna do is division. Okay, so division is represented by this sign or this sign or this sign. It just depends. Okay, so division means something is going into something a certain number of times. Okay, so if we say 4 divided by 2, we're trying to see how many sets of 2 you can find in 4. Remember when we wrote the 2 times number line? Okay, let me just increase this one. Maybe make it 8 and not 4. So remember when we did the 2 times number line in the previous question when we said it's 2, 4, 6, 8. So this means that this is 1 set of 2, 2 sets of 2, 3 sets of 2, 4 sets of 2. Okay. So now if they're saying 8 divided by 2, we're trying to find out how many sets of 2 can you find in 8. So, okay, 8, 10, let me use a different ink. Yeah. No, we say 10 and then 12 and then you go on. Okay. So now we're trying to see how many sets of 2 can you find in 8. So now we have to count 1, 2, 3, 4 until you find 8 in that 2 times number line. And that is 4 times. If we count 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the answer. So basically division is you trying to find out how many sets of the when it's like this is called the numerator. The number on the top is the numerator. The number at the bottom is the denominator. So whenever something is dividing something, it's the denominator into the numerator. And you're trying to see how many sets of the denominator you can find in the numerator. Okay. Do we have any questions on the division sign? Okay. I'm going to assume that nobody has a question on the division part. So the next part, we've done multiplication, division, and then addition. This is probably the simplest one. Okay, so addition sign is, there's only one sign to it. Also, I forgot, with multiplication, a dot can also be multiplication. So it's this, or that. Okay, so when you're multiplying, if you see 2.3, if it's not on the number line, like you see the margin, if it's kind of in between, it means that they're multiplying each other. If it's not here, if it's here, it stands for a multiplication sign. If it's here, it stands for like a comma. Okay, so there's only one sign for the addition sign. That's it. That's the plus sign. It's called the plus sign or the addition sign. It joins things together. Like if you have 3 and 12, you are adding these two, you're joining 3 and 12 together. So you just add on to 12. Who wants to give us the answer? Any volunteers for 3 plus 12?
It's 15.
Sorry?
Polani,
Hello, Polani,
15.
what's the answer? Thank you so much.
Good
Polani.
evening, 15.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So you're just adding here 12 and 3 to get 15. So basically the sign just joins things, okay? Here we're just trying to get you guys to understand what these signs really mean, okay? So we've done addition, we've done multiplication, and we've done division. So the last sign is subtraction, the subtraction sign. So this is the subtraction sign. It's called the subtraction sign or the minus sign, okay? So from this one, it's taking from. There we were adding, we were joining this and that. Here we're taking something from something. If I have 2 of these and I take away 1, that's minus. Minus is taking away 1, okay? So whenever you hear minus, it's taking away something, okay? So you can have 2 minus 5. Okay, let me not rush. We can have 5 minus 2. What do you get when you say 5 minus 2? You're taking away 2 6 from 5.
You get a 3.
Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, we get a 3. Is there anybody who has any type of questions here by the signs before we move on? Any questions? Okay, let me check out some examples from your manual. I'm on page 10. So now that we know all the signs, let's try out the examples. Okay, let's start with the ones on page. Let's start with the examples on page 10. Okay, so there's one that the first one says calculate 3 times bracket 8 minus 5. Okay, so remember when I told you about BODMAS, it's coming back again. Okay, BODMAS. So what this means is the B stands for.
Is the video
Okay,
the
give me
video
1 second.
disappeared and you only see Tubeli here on the screen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm very sorry about that. Okay, is the video back now?
Yes, we can see now.
All right. So this is BODMAS. This is what you're going to be dealing with mostly throughout until. This is the basics of mathematics. Okay. So BODMAS, this B stands for brackets. This is of division, multiplication, and then addition and subtraction. So what this basically means is if you see an example or a question, like you see the example on page 10, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of signs, there's addition, there's subtraction, there's brackets there, and you don't know what to do first, you don't know what to solve first. You can always get different answers depending on what you solve first. So this BODMAS is like a guide for you to know what you need to sort out first. So basically, if you see any question and there's brackets, sort out what's inside the brackets first before you do anything else. So you sort out the brackets, and then next you see, is there anywhere where I'm supposed to divide? Deal with the division, and then deal with the multiplication, and then add, and then subtract. Okay, so some questions might just have brackets and division and subtraction. So you'd have to deal with whatever's inside the brackets first, divide whatever you have, and subtract. Okay, in that order. Okay, so let's look at the examples. Can somebody please read out the first example on page 10? Can somebody please read example A on page 10?
Good evening.
Hi,
Good
what's your
evening.
It's
Children.
3.
It's 3.
Hello?
Hi,
Mouth-
Aaron, can you hear me?
Sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's your name?
My name is Julian.
Okay, Julian, thank you. Can you please read out the example A on page 10?
I hope I'm gonna read it correctly. And sorry for my voice. It's 3 multiplied, and then it's between brackets. It's 8 minus 5.
Is this what it looks like?
Yes.
Okay. So remember I said it's brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So already we see that they use brackets. So whatever is in the brackets becomes our priority. So we bring the 3 down as it is, and we keep the multiplication sign, and we focus on what's inside the bracket. So inside the brackets, it's 8 minus 5. What's 8 minus 5?
3.
Jillian?
Sorry, it's 3.
Okay. So we have 3. Okay.
Yes.
So remember I told you guys that the brackets mean the same thing as a multiplication sign. So this is now 3 times 3. So times is basically a times. So now we are just left with 3 times
3 times 3.
Yes. And your answer would be?
9. 9.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. So according to BODMAS, you solve what's inside the brackets first, and then you break down the question as you go forward. Okay. Thank you so much, Jillian. Can we have somebody else read and guide us through part B, example B, on page 10?
Hi, Kelvin here.
Hi. Who? Jordan.
Kelvin.
Kelvin, sorry. Thank you so much, Kelvin. What does the question B say?
Bracket 9 plus 2 times 7.
Okay, is it two brackets or?
Bracket 9 plus 2 in brackets times 7.
All right, like this. Is it like
your
this?
video is gone, but I think yes, that's it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who cannot see the video?
It's back on now.
Okay. All right. So, do you want to try solve this for us according to BODMAS?
Yeah, I think it's 9 plus 2, which is 11.
Yes.
Bracket 11 times 7.
Yes.
Which I think bracket times with the multiplication sign is plus, so it's still times, sorry. It's 11 times 7, which is 77.
Thank you so much, Calvin. That is correct. Okay, so that is the rule. Basically, everybody, if ever you see brackets, solve whatever's inside the bracket before you go out to solve. Okay, I think there's also like a third example there. Can we have another volunteer? Thank you so much, Calvin. Can we have another volunteer who can read out and help us solve example C on page 10?
Zianda.
Hi, Zianda. Can you please read out?
Negative 7
Mm-hmm.
multiplied by negative 8.
Okay. All right. Actually, before we go through this one, Zianda, can I please stop you? There's rules that I actually need to give you guys. Can we just go through those rules quickly? You might need to write these down. Okay. So when it comes to signs, a minus. Okay, basically this is a times. A minus and a minus times a minus is equal to a plus. A plus times a minus is equal to a minus. A minus times a plus is equal to a minus. And a plus times a plus is equal to a plus. This is in multiplication, okay? Did everyone write this down before we can move on to the division rules for signs? Okay, so it's a minus times a minus, like here, for example, if we have a minus multiplying minus, our answer has to have a plus sign. If it's a plus multiplying a minus, the answer is going to be a minus. If it's a minus multiplying a plus, our answer is always going to have a minus sign. So if you see, whenever there's a plus and a minus clashing together, a minus wins, okay? And then a minus and a minus yield a plus. And then a plus and a plus yield a, okay? So it's kind of the same for division as well. If we replace these with division, the rules are also kind of the same. So a minus divided by a minus is going to give us a plus. A plus divided by a minus is a minus. A minus divided by a plus is also another minus. And a plus divided by a plus is always a plus, okay? So sometimes it's easier for you if you see the signs before you even get to the numbers that are next to the signs, to see the signs, because most people get lost there. If you ignore the signs, your answer might actually automatically be wrong. So focus on those signs. So these are the rules those are the rules for multiplication first, And then now these are the rules for division. And then I'm gonna give you rules for addition and subtractions. Okay. So let's say, for example, you have 3 minus 8. Okay. What do you guys think the answer for this is? Someone who wants to try. Before I give you the rules.
-5.
Okay, thank you. That is correct. Okay. So the rule for this goes, as you can see, most positive numbers, we do not say we have a +1. No, we say it's just 1. Okay. So we already know that positive numbers, we do not announce the signs, their coefficients. We just say the number as it is. Okay. So we know that even though we didn't say +3 minus 8, there's a positive sign here. Okay. So if there's two different signs here, adding or subtracting each other, the rule goes, you subtract the smaller number from the bigger number, and you put the sign of the bigger number on the final answer. Okay, should I say that again, or should I write it down? Hello, are you guys still there?
Yes, we are
Yes.
Okay, so I was saying the rule for this is that when it's 3 minus 7 and it's like there's no signs, you subtract the smaller number from the bigger number and you put the sign of the bigger number. So the smaller number is 3, the bigger number is 8. So you subtract 3 from 8, which is 5. Without the sign, it's just, but then the sign of the bigger number is minus.
here. Minus.
So the answer is minus. So you see the rule even applies, even if we say 8 minus 3, the rule is still the same. We subtract the smaller number from the bigger number. So the first step is ignore all the signs. If you don't see that there's a +8 or there's a -3, just ignore all the signs and then subtract the smaller number from the bigger number. And then you get a 5. And then you put the sign of the bigger number. The sign of the bigger number is a plus. But because we don't need to write +5, the answer just becomes 5. Okay. So that's the rule. And then I hope you guys got the rules for the multiplications and the divisions for that one. Okay, so Zianda, you were still explaining part C for us. You're still helping us out with this one. From the rules that I just gave you, what sign is the answer supposed to have?
Oh, okay. So you're gonna say a negative multiplied by negative, which is positive, ne? So
Mhm.
it means we're not gonna write the plus sign. So the number is just gonna it's just gonna be the number. So 7 multiplied by 8, it's equals to 56.
All right. Thank you so much, Zianda. That is correct. Okay. So you see, if it's a minus times a minus, it's a plus. But since we don't write plus something, this will be our final answer. Okay. Is everyone satisfied on that part? Does anyone have any questions? Okay. So let's move on to the last part of examples on page 11. But I think everybody understands. Maybe everyone should just try out the examples there on page 11 on their own. A, B, and C, the one year 8 plus. Actually, no, let's do it. Okay, can somebody please help us read out the examples on page 11? Any volunteers?
Zianda.
Yes, Yanda, thank you.
Okay, A is 8 plus, then in brackets, minus 7.
Okay, it's 8 plus.
Then in brackets, minus 7.
Okay, is this a plus or?
Yes, it is a plus.
All right. Sorry, let me write it down. Plus. Okay. So remember from what I told you guys, this is a multiplication sign. So already you can see this is a plus times a minus.
Neg-
What is the final answer if a plus is multiplying a minus?
Negative.
It's a minus.
So before you even go into what this is, you already know that whatever answer you have is going to be a minus. And 8 times 7 is 56. So your answer here is a minus 56. Calvin, if you're still here, can you please read out B and try it out for us?
Can we go back to A? I think the answer is incorrect.
I also think so because there's no minus in front of the 8.
No. Listen, I said from the rules that I gave you, I said that a plus times a minus is a minus. Are we together on that one?
Yes, so it means you're gonna have you have to subtract 7 from the 8, which your answer will be 1.
Sorry. I actually thought that we were multiplying the whole thing. So it's 8. I thought this was a multiplication sign. It's a plus. So it's 8 plus minus 7. So the rules that are applying here are that one of the smaller number subtracting from the bigger number and the sign being of the bigger number. So the answer would be minus 14. Okay, thank you guys. At least now I know you guys are paying attention. Thank you.
The sign of a bigger number is positive, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, so the answer will be then positive 1.
Yes.
You guys. Thank you. Next part, does anyone want to try out and give us an example for B?
Sorry, today, can we ask the host to please mute Manaledi's Manaledi, because I think, yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Also, I think my other explanation here, if I can explain it better, is that these brackets, like I said earlier, let me just erase B for now. Brackets mean multiplication. We must not ignore that fact because like if you guys run into other more complex questions, it might confuse. So if it's a plus still, what we should have done is to say this is a plus times a minus. And the winning sign between a plus and a minus is a minus. So this would just come down as 8 minus 7 here. And your answer would be 1. Okay. You must still acknowledge the fact that you're multiplying this and that. The signs are multiplying each other. Since there's no direct contact between the 8 and the 7, the multiplication is between plus and a minus. So it's 8 plus times minus 7. And plus times minus is minus. Okay? Are we together, class?
Yes,
Hello.
Yes, we are together.
Okay. If Calvin is still here, can he please do B for us? Can he please read out the example for B for us and try and solve it?
Okay, thank you. So B is 18 minus bracket minus 2.
Okay. So what do you think this means?
Minus times minus is equals to minus, so it becomes.
Are you sure?
Sorry, minus plus minus times minus is a plus. I apologize.
No problem.
Plus 2.
Yes.
It's plus 2, which
So your
becomes
answer would be
20.
Okay, thank you so much, Calvin. Was it Jaden? Was the other person who offered up? Was it Jaden? Oh, no, I'm guessing not. Okay, I'm sure there's a last part, the last example C. I'd like everybody to try it out on their own. in their spare time. Unless anyone here thinks they can, that they're gonna have problems solving that part, can they please let me know now so we can do it together before we move on to the next part. Okay, so is everyone clear on this part before we move on to fractions?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. I just wanna. I see something here and I wanna challenge it. I'm not sure. Because it says 18 minus in brackets minus 2.
Yes. Okay, let's
So,
write it down.
Yes.
Let's
Doesn't
so-
that make it a isn't like we said in bracket, the bracket represent
a multiplication.
a multiplication. So
Yes.
doesn't it change the sign and the answer gets to be 36?
No. Okay. So if it was right next to each other, then your answer or your suggestion would be correct. But look here.
Oh, I get it complete. No, I get it. Excuse me. I get it.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good to understand so you can actually,
Yeah.
ask questions and fully understand. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. What's
Thanks.
Hello, what's your name?
Little Abu.
Okay, Ricardo, thank you so much for asking. Okay,
Yes.
so you understand now. So are there any more questions on whole numbers and bond mass and things like that before we move on to fractions?
No.
No, it's clear. All right, thank you for your response and your feedback. So now fractions, I'm sure we've all heard of fractions. Fractions, I wouldn't say they're the opposites of whole numbers, but they are not whole numbers. Okay, so fractions, like I said, fractions have numerators and denominators. Okay, so for fractions, I could say, let me start with the easiest fraction. I'm sure everyone knows this one. This is half, or 1/2. Né? So the one at the top, like I told you, would be the numerator. Okay, and the one at the bottom would be the denominator. Okay, so that's how you name these in fractions. So we have the top one and the bottom one. As we go on, you will talk about decimals and percentages, and you can move between fractions to decimals to percentages and back and forth and all of that. So fractions are like a piece. A fraction is like a piece. It's like when you have an orange and you cut it into slices. If you take one piece, that's a fraction of the orange. A slice of it is a fraction. A fraction is like a piece or part of something. Okay. So here we're saying that there's two whole parts, and here we only have one out of the two parts. So we have a half. So the fraction of the whole that has two is 1/2. So we have a half of it. If it was 1/8, would mean that the whole has 8 pieces, and we're just choosing one of the fraction. We like from the orange, we're taking one slice. So we're only taking one piece, one fraction, 1/8 of the whole thing. Okay, so that's what a fraction means. A fraction is not a whole number. Most fractions are always less than 1. If it's more than 1, like let's say it's 1.5, this is now an improper fraction. No, an improper fraction would be, 3/2. But this is the same as this. Okay, let me not confuse you guys. And let's just deal with fractions right now. So fractions are basically a piece or small part of a whole number of a whole percentage. Okay, so there's addition of fractions, subtractions of fractions, multiplication, subtractions. Let's start with multiplications because they're the easiest. Okay, so let's say we are saying half times, okay, another half. Okay, So when you're multiplying fractions, it's easy because you multiply the top only, you multiply the bottom, okay? And that's your answer. So you multiply the numerators, you focus on the numerators and you ignore the denominators. And then you focus also on the denominators and you ignore the numerators. Okay, so if we put the division sign, this would be 1 times 1 is 1 and 2 times 2 is 4. So half times half is a quarter. Okay, another example, can someone try and give me the answer for this one?
Let me try.
Thank you.
Firstly, it's 12 over, it's 6 times 2, 12, 8 times 3, 24.
Okay.
Then I can simplify it further.
Thank you.
To a half.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. So like what he said, you simplify. So sometimes a fraction, there's something called the simplest terms, like what he said, simplifying something. So leaving it like this would not be wrong, but simplifying it would be a better answer. Sometimes you'd find that they'll say, what is the most correct answer? Not that 12 over 24 is not correct. Yes, it's not. But the most correct answer would be 1 over 2 because you went one step further and you simplified it. And when you're simplifying things, you find the lowest common factor. Okay, no, the highest common factor. So the highest common factor between 12 and 24 is actually 12 because it goes into 12 once, into 24 twice, excuse me. Okay. So any questions on the multiplication of fractions before we go to the division of fractions? Okay. I'm gonna take it that the multiplication of fractions is understood. So now on to the division of fractions. So let's say we have 6 over 6 over, okay, let me make it 6, let me make it 3 over 7 divided by 6 over 21. Okay. So for when you're dividing fractions, you keep the first term as it is, and then you flip the second one, and then you change the sign to be a multiplication sign. Okay. So we said we're maintaining the first one. So it's going to stay as 3 over 7, and the sign is going to change now. It's not a division sign, it's now a multiplication because we flipped it. So now it's multiplying it. So now it's not 6 over 21 anymore, it's 21 over 6. Okay. And now you can cancel common factors or common denominators. Like 7 goes into 7 once. Like you can cross multiply this and that, this into that. Like you can find common denominators because you flipped it. So you can do that. So 7 into 7 goes once. 7 into 21 goes 3 times. 3 into 3 goes once. 3 into 6 goes twice. So the numbers that you're left with from there after canceling, you're left with 1 over 1 times 3 over 2. And from our rules from previous multiplication, we can just say it's 3 over 2. Okay. Or from here, you don't have to cancel. You can just say 3 over 7 times 21 over 6. And then you multiply, find the final answer, and simplify, which is a longer path because you end up with very big numbers than just working with much simpler, much smaller numbers. Okay, for example, if we say, what's 3 times 21 here? Anyone? Okay, 63 over 7 times 6.
42.
which is 42. And then we have to find now the common factor between 63 and this, which is, I think, 21. 21 goes into 42 twice and goes into 63 3 times. So you see, you arrived at the same answer either way, but this one would have been easier because you're working with small numbers throughout than working with big numbers. Because I find that working with big numbers sometimes comes with a lot of errors than if you're working with smaller numbers. It's simpler that way to work with smaller numbers than to work with large numbers. They usually tend to come with a lot of errors, okay? So you can choose whichever one you think is simpler for you to understand between just after you flip them, you multiply as they are and you simplify, or you cross and you find common factors and then you still get to the same answer. Okay, any questions on the division of fractions?
Hi to Belikle. I just wanted to figure out, so there's 3/7 divided by 6/21, right?
Yes.
How did we end up then flipping 6/21? What was the reason for us flipping?
The reason for flipping is so that you can multiply physically without using a calculator. Because you can just punch this into your calculator and you can get this. But if you're not going to use a calculator, it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard for you to divide. Because like I said, this is a fraction. Okay, if you look at the corner here, basically what we are saying here, when we're saying 3/7 divide by 6/21, according to the proper signs and everything. This is what it would look like. And this looks a bit messy. If you with me. So this is kind of like a trick, like a way to get to the answer quicker without having to struggle via this way. Because here you'd have to have a lot of confusion now with trying to solve it. This is the quickest method you can come up with, flipping this one. Okay, so the first one, like if it's this divided by this, so your numerator stays the same and you flip your denominator. And then this changes from a division to a multiplication sign. Because multiplication is easy, it's just this times this and this times that. But it's not the same when it comes to this. You can't just say 3 divided by 6, 7 divided by 21. It doesn't work like that. That would be going against the rules of mathematics. So flipping this and changing the sign would be the easiest way for you to find the solution. Does that answer your question?
So the moment you flip, it becomes a multiplication.
Yes.
It ceases to be a division.
Yes.
Okay. That helps.
Yes.
That helps. Thank you, Tube.
Changes. The moment you flip this, it changes.
Yo, hi, Sister Shemina. I'm confused, very confused.
All right, let's try another question with the division example.
Can I assist?
Yes, sure.
Yes, it's Kolani.
Hi, Kolani.
Yes. Firstly, let's say it's a rule that we first flip the second fraction. And from there we use the rules of the multiplication.
Yes.
Yes, because I did maths before, and maths works with the rules. So we need to master the rules first, then we can go back, because I've heard the first gentleman was asking why were we flipping. Then we can say it's a rule.
Yeah, it's a rule. Yeah,
yes,
that's what I was saying. Yes.
Yes. Then because I can see that firstly we did multiplication, where we multiply the numerator with the numerator and the denominator with the denominator. Then we got our answers till the simplest form. Then now we are doing the division, which is with the division. If we can go by
Kolani,
the rule,
you are breaking up a lot.
Oh, how is it now? How is it now? Hello?
Okay, I don't know if it's just me, but Polan, you're breaking up a lot.
We
Yes,
can
yes.
hear him. We
We
can
could
hear
hear
him.
him. Yeah.
Okay. So that
Okay.
is okay. Also, unfortunately, we are out of
All right.
time
No,
for the
thanks.
free lesson because it was just supposed to be an introductory hour, and we started at 7:05, and it's 8:06 now. So I'm just gonna try and make sure that everybody understands the concepts of the fractions, dividing fractions before we can proceed to end the lesson. Okay. So let me give you guys another example. Maybe half, 1/8 divided by a half. Okay. So the first rule you write down, like I said, this means that it's 1/8 divided by 1/2. But we write it like this. Remember, I said this and this are the same thing. It's division. So this is a bit confusing, to write it like this and to try and work it out like this. But this is very kind of a simpler way of looking at it and of understanding it. Okay. So like I said, this would now be our numerator. The first term is your numerator. The second term is your denominator. Okay. So like we said, the numerator doesn't change. It stays that way. It's 1/8. And then we flip, we put the multiplication sign, and then we flip from 1/2 to 2/1. So the two rules go hand in hand. Okay, you change this from the multiplication sign, and as soon as you change this from a division to a multiplication sign, you now have to flip this. It cannot stay this way once the sign has changed. So you can remember the rule this way. You change the sign and you flip it. So you change from division to multiplication. So division here changes to multiplication and you flip, okay? So now from the multiplication rules, it's now simple. Does anyone want to solve it from here now?
All right. 2/8, which is 1/4.
Thank you so much. Okay, so you solve it to 2/8 and then you simplify to 1/4 by finding the highest common factor between 2 and 8, which is 2. Okay, or you can just do the other rule that I said, where you can say 2 into 2 goes in ones, into 8 it goes in 4 times, and you're left with 1 times 1 and 1 times 4, which is, excuse me, 1/4. Okay. So do we still have queries on the division of fractions? Should I try and use more examples to explain? Did you guys get this concept? So first rule is you change the sign from division to multiplication. Second step is you flip the denominator from 1/2 to 2/1, whatever fraction that it will be. Okay, and those signs still apply. The rules of the signs, they still apply. If this was a minus, if it was 1/8 divided by a minus, it would be a plus divided by a minus, which means that irregardless of what we're gonna do here, our final answer must have a negative sign. Okay. So first thing, you look at the signs first before you get into it, into the solving and the simplifying. Okay. All right, guys, I hope that everybody understood the everything that we were doing today, from the fractions to the whole numbers. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to forward them to VUT. So does anyone have any questions? Because now we're out of time.
From my side, thank you very much, dear lady.
Okay, you're welcome. So I really appreciate you guys. It was really nice meeting you guys. I would have loved for you guys, most of you guys, to have participated more, but to those who are participating, thank you very much. If we're going to be working together from now on, I would like to know each and every one of you guys by name as the same way that you know me. Okay. Eventually, if we're going to work with each other, I would like to know each and every one of you by name. Okay. Jasper, I think I'm done here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for participating. I think for more information, we're going to communicate in the group as usual.
Okay. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much today.
Bye.